Hi guys, I'm going to do a short video on a quick way from the actual survey data to the volume calculation and the whole process in between that we do in Trimble Business Center. We're going to go through the data import and the codelist process, creation of surface and the contours just for visual representation, and the volume calculation that's going to give us the actual earthworks volumes. So we're going to start off with a blank template, which I mostly use when I import the CSV file. Just drag and drop it. So instantly what comes up is this definition. So, and you have to be careful. 99% of the time it's going to show you, it's going to select this first one. This is what we need. You have to be careful. It's point, easting, northing, elevation, code in that order. Otherwise the import won't work. As you can see, this is a preview of the file that I'm importing. Point number, easting, northing, elevation and code, and it instantly shows you, it separates it in the columns required. So just click on import. Shows the project definition. This is going to come up each and every time. It's just a false easting and northing of this current drawing that's going to be created. So these are our points. They were surveyed on site with the code list, which you process this way. Just under the survey tab you have process feature codes. Click on it. Then on the right side it's going to show you, that's my imported file with the date. You select that job file, click process. Now it's going to tell you that you don't have the feature code attached yet. Click OK, and then the next step is just to select that feature definition file. Double click on your feature code list, click OK, and then one more, process sources. Now these are all the points connected with the line works I was using. Bank top, bank bottom, bank top, bank bottom, and on the top of the berm I did spot levels. That's it. Then the next step would be to create a surface. We're going to create two surfaces from this drawing. I don't have the OGL for it, so we're going to use basically the lowest bank bottom that's closed all the way around. We're going to use that to create sort of an OGL, and we're going to use all the data that's been surveyed for a top surface. So you have a tab, surfaces, and under surfaces you have create surface. So first surface, as I said, we're going to name it OGL. Surface classification is important. You have to kind of give a bit more info to the software, just so it knows, is it a cut volume or a fill volume. So we're going to set this as the original surface classification. Color doesn't matter, you can choose whatever you want. This is just some details on when it's processed, created. Under members, to form a surface, we're going to go and you click in this window just so it's active, and I'm going to select my bank bottom that goes all the way around the surveyed berm. I'm going to create a surface from that. Click on apply. That's it. One surface is already created, and you can view it if you go to CAD, no, to home, 3D view, and you will be able to see the lower surface, basically the bottom of my surveyed berm. So you can see the shading of the colors. Then we go back to plan view. We're going to do a new surface, which we'll give it a name of berm 7, as I recall on site. Surface classification, we're going to use an as-built. Just to give it a bit different color, I'm going to put in orange. This time we can go and select by layer. Now you don't click in this window, you go to options, and you have a couple of options how to what selection to do. I'm going to go and select by layer. My required layers are bank bottoms, bank tops, and spot levels. The rest is text, these elevations, which I don't want to use, otherwise it would use the text as a level on its own. So this is enough for my surface. Close and apply. So now a second surface is created, and you can see it here in the 3D view that it formed another surface on the actual as-built. That's it. You can go click OK, because we're finished with the two surfaces with the creations. The next step would be, while you're in the surfaces tab, just to go and create contours. Click on the tab, and it will ask you to give it a couple of details. From the surface selection, select the as-built surface, which in my case is berm 7. Name contours. This doesn't actually matter. You can leave it as that. Contour interval. Now instantly it shows you the maximum elevation, which is 68.5, and minimum 63.6. So that means I have almost 5 meters of difference between the lowest and the highest point, just to get some idea how it's gonna look and what to use as an interval. I use, since it is quite a big difference, I'm going to use 200 mil of the interval. So I'm going to write 0.2. Index contour frequency. This is just for the software to place the actual levels on each fifth contour. Layer, I leave this area the same. You can always go and create a new layer where they're going to be placed. They're in layer 0, which is most of the time empty, so I leave this area as is. The only thing I would tick on these two boxes, just to color contours by elevation and to smooth them. The next step is to choose a text style, which in this case, since it's going to be quite thick on the slopes, we're going to use this 0.3 mil height of text for the labels and for the distance between labels. Since this is almost 500 meters long, I think maybe 100 meters of distance between labels will be enough. And the next step is click OK. That's it. Your contours are created, with every fifth contour has its elevation mark. The next step is going to be the earthwork report or volume calculation. So you click on that tab. This allows you to do a couple of different calculations. I'm going to use this surface to surface because we have the bottom and the top surface. This surface to elevation would be if you have, let's say, a top surveyed and you want to know what would be the volume if you take down a meter or two, or to go down to, let's say, 65 or some elevation, which we won't use this time. So we're going to go with surface to surface. Our initial surface is the OGL. Final survey is the berm 7, which is the as-built. Boundary, in this case we don't need a boundary because we're gonna use all of it that's in the drawing, but still you can go and use click on in the small window and then select the bank bottom, which goes all the way around and it's closed. Materials, that's another part that we haven't used yet that much. It comes down to you can create materials as topsoil, subsoil, terrain, so it would instantly separate sort of layers of the ground if it's a dig or if it's a top, if it's a fill. Rarely used. You can do a volume breakdown by depths, same as with the materials. Just this, in the materials you can set the depths. I'd say 150 mil for a topsoil, 200 mil for subsoil, so on. Which in this version you can just give it a firm depth at half a meter, 1 meter, or whatever is needed. Again, rarely used. So we have our OGL as initial surface, berm 7 as a final surface. We have the boundary selected and click OK. It's going to create a report which shows you so surfaces used, OGL, berm, original, as-built. Material placed for our berm is 14,234.7 cubes, cubic meters, within 8,590 square meters of the berm itself, and the maximum depth of placed material at one point is 3.24. That's it. That's your volume. You can go and just right click, print with whichever PDF you have, save as PDF, save it to the folder that you need. You can click X on that and you go to home, export, to create a drawing from the surfaces and the contours that you've created. You go to this tab, CAD, DWG exporter. You can go in options, select all, so to select everything that is currently in this drawing. Again, go and save it to the folder that you need. I'm going to give this new name, final. So for the DWG version, I would always go, let's say, 2 steps lower than the last. Sometimes you're going to have to send the drawing to a client that doesn't maybe have the latest version of CAD or Business Center or whatever they use. I leave it my export precision at 3 decimals and export point as point blocks. Yes. Click export, and that's it. Now you have a CAD drawing that's ready for any kind of process in CAD, in Civil 3D or whatever, print PDF, further creation, modeling uh, from the drawing itself. And that about sums the required process of getting the earthwork volume export and drawing prep for printing from our data that we collected on site.